Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another masterclass, especially for you, those of you who are the Queen to Queen 90-day weight loss formula clients. This one is going to be a good one, and I feel like I say this every time, but I'm going to try to make this one short. And the reason why is I think my perception of exercise as it comes to weight loss is that most people understand the importance of exercise and that exercise is a part of weight loss and a necessity when it comes to weight loss. So that's why I don't spend too much time here, just because I think that's a well understood principle. I feel like that's truthfully where people tend to go first when they're trying to lose weight is, okay, let me get in the gym, let me start working out more before they've addressed anything else, right? Before they address their diet, before they address stress, rest, supplements, any of those other things, people generally are going to working out more, which is good, right? We all should be moving our bodies. But I just like to make sure that we understand all of the other factors that go into weight loss. That's not to downplay today's masterclass though, because we're going to talk about how important exercise is, and more specifically, the top 4 exercises for weight loss. My name is Sinclair Walker. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, or FDNP for short. And ow, I just hit myself. And I am happy to be joining you here today. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you're watching this not live, feel free to drop any questions in the comments, and I'll go back and answer them. But yes, I'm going to try to keep this one under 45 minutes. Let's get into it. So I was like to start off with a quote, right? A why, and this is a quote of myself. But why we're even covering this is that our bodies are meant to move. And I think that a great mindset to be in when it comes to exercise and to movement. I like to say movement just because I think it shifts the brain from thinking exercise as something you have to do, right? Whereas you can treat movement as both a privilege and a necessity rather than a chore. I think in today's society, because everything is so convenient, everything comes relatively easily, meaning that, right, you can get groceries without leaving your house. You can press a couple buttons and have an entire fridge full of groceries, right? Whereas, excuse me, that is a big evolution from where our species, where humankind was thousands of years ago, where we had to go, and there are still people, communities out there that do this, but in general, we don't have to go out and hunt for our food anymore because there are grocery stores, there is Instacart, right? In a lot of at least modern societies. So we don't have to really move our bodies to survive. And I think that's a key difference from, again, thousands of years ago when we had to go out and hunt our food or we didn't eat. And if we didn't eat, we didn't survive. So we've evolved to where we are today, where movement is something we have to be intentional, right? We have to be intentional about putting movement into our routine, because otherwise the default, right, is that most of us can sit on the couch, sit in our office chair, sit in our bed and get most of our things done for the day. So that shift, right, the truth is that not everybody has the privilege to move their bodies, right? Not everybody has all 4 limbs and has the ability to move their bodies. So treat it as a privilege that you get to get up and walk to the fridge to get some water, right? And really treat it as something that let's switch the mindset to something that we get to do, but also something that we have to do, right? We have to move our bodies. I really don't think it's possible to be metabolically healthy without getting in some regular movement. You argue if you want, but I don't think that it is possible to be metabolically healthy without moving your body. And we're going to talk about that in a second here. But first, let's talk about what we're going to cover in today's masterclass. We're going to cover why exercise is important. We're going to cover the top 4 exercises or movement practices for weight loss. And we're going to cover what I think is one of the most important things when we're talking about, exercise, is how to stay consistent. Again, I think everybody understands the importance of weight loss, of exercise, of moving your bodies. And there are a million different paid and free resources out there, right? You can find just about any type of workout on YouTube if you need some guidance. But I think where most of us struggle is the consistency. You can do anything for a week, right? I can exercise every day for a week, and then what happens, right? Typically you fall off, life happens, whatever. So I think that staying consistent is one of the hardest parts of keeping a consistent movement practice and losing weight. Okay, so we're going to talk about that last. So first, why is exercise important? I'll talk about some you probably are aware of, and maybe some benefits of exercise that you haven't thought of before. So I did mention this before, but proper metabolic function cannot be achieved without movement. This is for a variety of reasons, but if you think about, again, the quote I put up, the first sentence was, our bodies are meant to move. They were built to move. They expect us to move. So if they expect us to move, if we don't, then we cannot function properly, right? And you can still function, right? You can absolutely still function, but you're not going to be able to function properly and optimally unless you are getting in that daily movement. Okay. Number 2, weight loss requires energy expenditure. And I put that very strategically because, again, I think when we think about exercise, calories is always typically the thing that comes up, right? We want to eat to be in a calorie deficit, and we want to work out so that we're in a calorie deficit, and everything's about this calorie deficit. So I am very intentional, although I do mention it, I think once on here when we get to the top 4 exercises, but I try to not make the exercise portion of the 90-day weight loss formula so calorie focused, because a calorie is just a way to measure our energy expenditure. At the end of the day, if you're trying to lose weight, you do need to make sure that you are moving your body so that you are using the energy that, at least you are using the energy that you are consuming. But really what you want to do is use more energy than what you're consuming, right? So that's the whole idea of the old idea of calories in versus calories out. You want to burn more calories than you're consuming. That's the same kind of mindset as what I'm saying, as you want to, whatever you are going to consume energy on a daily basis, right? And that's in the form of food, in the form of nutrition. You need to make sure that you are moving your body enough to use up that energy and a little extra, right? That's where the fat burning comes in. If we're not moving our bodies, we're not actually utilizing all of the energy that we're taking in. And that's when you get excess energy storage, typically as fat, okay? Number 3, it is required for detoxification. So I don't know if you but we have about a liter of lymph fluid, every single person. We have a lymphatic system, which is one of our detoxification systems. It's about a liter of fluid that we have in our body, where our cells basically put their waste, right? Okay, I'm done with this. This is, excess hormones, toxins, anything that the body needs to get rid of. Some of that will be entered into the lymphatic system, the lymphatic fluid, and it goes all throughout our bodies. But the important part here is that if you don't move your body, all of the toxins that are, put into your lymphatic system to be excreted from the body, to leave the body, they're just going to sit there, right? So if you aren't moving your body, you need to move the lymphatic system for it to actually get rid of the waste that is accumulated in the lymphatic system. So what I mean by this, let's say, right, your body is getting rid of some toxins that you maybe you ate some fruit, it had some pesticides on it, so now you have a little bit of toxins in your body that your body's trying to get rid of. Your body might move some of that, those toxins from your bloodstream to your lymphatic system. And from your lymphatic system basically brings that to like your urine, for example, right? That is one way that your lymphatic system gets rid of the toxins that are built up. The problem is, wherever those toxins are excreted in the body, it has to travel, right? It has to travel to the kidneys. It has to travel down so that it can be excreted from the urine. If we aren't moving our bodies, those toxins aren't going anywhere. They're going to stay right inside of our lymphatic system, and that can breed a lot of nasty things like cancer, and just that sedentary behavior is a breeding place for disease. Okay. So we need to make sure that we are getting up and moving our bodies so that everything that is our bodies are trying to get rid of through the lymph fluid can actually travel throughout the body, make it to the kidneys, and be excreted from the body. And to the liver, right? The liver is a huge detoxification, one of our largest detoxification organ. Number 4, exercise is important because it balances your blood sugar. I could do a whole masterclass on this, and I just might, honestly, because it's that important. But your blood sugar is the amount of energy, right? Sugar is our body's most quickest form of energy, and it's our body's preferred fuel, if you will, is sugar or glucose, because it's a quick form and it's easily available, and our body can actually make it ourselves. But what happens when we consume almost anything, but mostly carbohydrates, is that our body breaks that food down to the smallest molecule it can, which is glucose. So that pretty much anything that you eat that is considered a carbohydrate, whether that's, fruit, vegetables, bread, pasta, all of those things, they break down into sugar molecules. Most of them break down into glucose. And once that's broken down, that glucose enters your bloodstream. And that is so that it can be utilized for energy. The problem is, if we aren't moving our bodies, then the sugar, the glucose enters our bloodstream, and a couple of things can happen after that. But what typically will happen is insulin. Insulin is a hormone secreted by the pancreas. And its job is to come and grab all of the sugar from your bloodstream, not all of it, but grab the excess sugar from your bloodstream and take it to your cells so that it can be utilized for energy, but also so that it can be stored. And sorry, let me back up. Typically, if it's going to be your glucose is going to be utilized for energy, it's used right away. Insulin's job is to take everything that's not used right away and store it for later, right? So let's basically make a little to-go box. Insulin's job is to come, grab the sugar, and make a little to-go box and tuck it away in typically fat into your cells, that in the form of fat, so that on a day when you may not have eaten food, your body has a source of fuel. Okay. And so what can happen if you're not moving in your body is that all of that excess sugar that's going to go into your bloodstream after you eat a meal of carbohydrates is going to get stored as fat. What can happen over time is that after, years and decades of insulin being on the job 24/7, right? If you eat all throughout the day, if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, insulin is constantly having to go and sweep up all of this extra sugar that's in your blood, all of this extra glucose that's in your blood, and take it to your cells. Insulin gets tired. It gets tired. It gets frustrated. And it's like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. All right. And so there's a couple of different, these are where blood sugar dysregulation, diseases and things like that, disorders can happen, right? Type 1, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance. This is all where this starts to happen, is when insulin is on the job all the time. And basically either insulin stops working properly, or the cells lose their ability to sense that insulin is even there, right? And insulin's knocking at the door and the cells can't hear it anymore. And so now you have all of this excess sugar in your blood just chilling. Okay. And that's where the raised blood sugar, or if you have like a raised fasting blood sugar, which is, you over 8 hours, your blood sugar should decrease. But if it stays high, then that means you are probably experiencing insulin resistance. One of the ways to improve that is to exercise, because exercise utilizes that sugar that's in the blood. So daily exercise is really important because you want to make sure you're utilizing the sugar so that it's not stored, so that insulin doesn't have to come around and store it as fat. As you can tell, like I said, I can do a whole masterclass on that because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to blood sugar. But blood sugar balance is a very, very key benefit of exercise. And lastly, it improves your mood. There are hormones, dopamine, serotonin, that are released when you get your body moving. If you've ever had the experience where maybe you didn't feel like working out, but then you go and do it, and afterwards you're like, oh man, I feel much better. I'm happy I did that. That's some of that, that improved mood from the endorphins that are released from your body when you go out and exercise. Okay. So we've talked about why it's important. Now let's go into the number 4. I'll go from 4 to 1. Number 4, and these aren't necessarily in the best to worst, or I'm sorry, these are in any particular order. Let's just say that, okay? But I'm going to start with number 4 of the top 4 exercises for weight loss. Number 4 is walking. Don't know if you saw that one coming. I know sometimes when we think exercise, we think like you got to be working out, your heart has to be pumping super hard. You got to be burning, sweating. You got to be doing all these things. Walking is a great exercise for a couple of reasons. And I didn't put in a description of walking because I think we all understand what walking is. But for a multitude of reasons. One, it is actually a great fat burning exercise. The reason it's a great fat burning exercise is because some more intense exercises, I mentioned a second ago when I was talking about blood sugar, that our bodies can actually produce glucose. They can produce their own glucose. And so some of the more intense exercises, your liver will actually be triggered to produce more glucose because more energy is needed than is currently available in the blood, right? So if you were going to do like a high intensity workout, your body's probably going to produce glucose. You're probably going to see an increase in your blood sugar to make sure that your body has enough energy to do that exercise. But walking is a pretty low intensity exercise. So your body is not going to produce more glucose when you're walking. It's going to use up what is already there. So it's going to utilize what's in the blood, or it's going to utilize what is stored as fat. Okay, so that is why, because it is a low intensity and your body, it typically doesn't, trigger the stress hormone, which is cortisol. And cortisol is what signals the body to produce more glucose, because we're doing an intense exercise, we're sprinting. Your body doesn't know that it's an exercise that you're planning. For all it knows, someone is chasing you and you need to run for your life. So your body is going to adapt by producing more energy for you, right? Producing more glucose, spilling that into the blood so that it can be used for quick energy. That's what happens when you're doing the high intensity workouts. The low intensity workouts like walking, that doesn't happen. So it's going to utilize what you have stored without producing more. Okay, so that's why it's a great fat burning exercise. It's easy on the body and easy on the joints. That's another reason why I love walking, because just about everybody can do it, right? If you are physically able to move your legs back and forth, you can do some degree of walking. And so it's great for all ages. It's great for, if you are someone who maybe has some aches and pains, dealing with arthritis, walking is a great exercise because it's very easy on the muscles, and our bodies were made to do it, right? If you look at the way our bodies are formed, you look at the way we are structured, we are made to walk. Before there were cars, before there were trains and buses and planes, we had 2 legs and we walked. So our bodies are made to do it. It's easily accessible. You don't need any equipment. You don't even need really a space to walk. You can walk in place. All you need is a space for 2 feet and maybe enough room for your knees to come up, right? If you're on a long plane ride and you want to get some movement on, you can walk up and down the aisle. You can stand up and walk in place, right? It's something you can do just about anywhere. Another reason why it's one of my favorites. It also, I mentioned a second ago, it does not increase your cortisol levels. So for most of us, we are chronically stressed out, right? We've got a lot going on. We're in a global pandemic. We've got stress with our job, with our family, with our relationships, with money, whatever it is. And so cortisol, the stress hormone, is pretty much, always on the job. It's always being released by the body. We don't want exercise to be another reason for our cortisol levels to raise if we are in that exhaustive, really chronically stressed state. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. If you are in just a period of life where you're very stressed out, or right, we run a stress and hormone panel. So if we've run your panel and you've been in the exhaustive phase, walking is going to be a great exercise for you because it is not stressful on the body. So another reason why I think whether you incorporate the other 3 exercise regimens or not, walking is something everybody should be doing every single day. And it allows for multitasking finally. I think an important part of what of a good exercise and a good movement practice is that it's something you can do consistently, and it's something that you can do in your everyday life, and it's something you will actually do. And so I think the fact that you can multitask while you walk, so right, maybe you have a meeting that you can take walking, right? Maybe you have a walking meeting. Maybe you have a walking meditation. Maybe you have a friend or a family relative that you call every week, and you can utilize your walk as that time to speak to your friend or your family. There's a lot of, you can listen to a podcast. You can do a lot of things while you walk that require either listening or talking. So I think that it's a great thing to incorporate into your routine, even if you are one of those people who are just so busy that you can't find 30 minutes a day to set aside to exercise. Then set aside 30 minutes that you already are doing something else, right? Whether it's you could read, whether it's listening to an audiobook or listening to a podcast or taking a meeting, whatever it is, and just walk while you do it, right? If you're working in an office and you can't leave, get a treadmill. You can walk in place. I do that all the time. If you have the means, you can also get a treadmill in your home or in your office, and just do that really quickly again while you're on a call or while you're listening to something. So walking, great exercise for weight loss. Very underrated when it comes to weight loss, so that's why I liked to include it first. Number 3 is high intensity interval training, or HIIT. So HIIT is basically alternating short high intensity exercise with a short rest. And you do that back and forth. You alternate that for several rounds. And I'm not saying any specific numbers because this is all going to really depend on where you are in your journey. So for me, or let me go over some examples first. Some examples of HIIT would be sprints, burpees, jumping jacks, jump squats, anything that gets the heart rate going. You want to get your heart rate basically to its max. So these are some typical or well-known exercises that get the heart rate going. But if you have an exercise, mountain climbers is another good one. But if you have just an exercise that you like doing, if it gets your heart rate up to its max, then it can be incorporated into a HIIT regimen. And really the important part about HIIT is that you get it up to its max and then you allow it to come down a little bit, because the hard part about HIIT and really where the benefit comes from is the fact that you are allowing your heart rate to come down and then forcing it to come back up again. That is exhausting, I'm not going to lie, but it's very good for you. And it burns a lot of energy or calories. You know, that's the one time I'm going to say calories. It does burn a lot of calories. So some benefits of HIIT, more energy expended. Again, I mentioned calories. It does actually burn more calories throughout the day than most other exercise routines, making it the most efficient exercise as well. You can do a series of a couple of, you know, maybe 6 rounds of sprints in probably 20 minutes and have that be your exercise for the day and burn probably more calories than you will doing anything else because it burns throughout the day. And again, the act of speeding your heart rate up and then slowing it down again, that is a very energy intensive process. So it burns calories in the moment, but also has that residual benefit of burning it even for a couple hours after your exercise is finished. Okay, so it is the most efficient, especially if you are, again, a person who's low on time. Maybe you only have 30 minutes a day or even 30 minutes a couple times a week. HIIT is a great way to incorporate your exercise. Fat loss is another benefit. HIIT is great for fat loss. It has the benefits of basically all of the different exercises coming into one, right? So you have your high intensity regimen, but then you also by allowing the body to come back down and then speed back up, you get a lot of benefit that is going to tap into that stored fat energy. Again, it's a very energy intensive process. So your body's probably going to be producing its own glucose, but also tapping into the glucose that you have stored as fat, because it's going to take a lot of energy to do that routine, to do that over and over and over again. And lastly, improved blood pressure and blood sugar. Those have both been shown to be benefits of a high intensity interval training. So I will say here that HIIT is something that you want to be careful about if you haven't done it before, if high intensity exercise is not currently a part of your routine and you want to start really slow. So for example, for me, sprints was something that I wanted to incorporate, but it was not a part of my routine last year. I started that this year. I started incorporating sprinting just a couple of months ago. But before that, I was really not doing too much high intensity movements. So what I did is started out with 4 rounds, right? When you look up like high intensity interval training regimens, sometimes they say like 10 rounds, 8 rounds, that's all nice, but you have to start where your body is comfortable, start where you're at. So, 3 rounds, start with 2, right? Start with 2 and work your way up, under promise, over deliver. So I definitely, recommend if it's something that you haven't done in a long time, you can start with 2 rounds, then maybe the next week you go to 3 and then you go to 4. If you feel comfortable enough, maybe starting with 3 rounds or 4 rounds is a good place to start. But the important part again is that you get the heart rate pumping as close to its max as possible, and then you give yourself enough rest to bring it back down. It doesn't have to come all the way back down to normal, but you do want it to come back down so that when you start the exercise again, you have some space to go. If you just stay at the max the whole time, you're actually doing cardio, you're not doing HIIT. Okay, so definitely make sure that you're smart about where you're starting off. High intensity interval training is something that is energy intensive on the body. So keep that in mind, start slow and then increase it as you go. And number 2, I forgot I went backwards for a second. Oh, my picture. Oh no. Okay, well, it looked like it got rid of my number 2 slide, which is perfectly fine because I know what it was and I can talk through it. So number 2, don't know what happened here. It didn't update, but number 2 is resistance training. Okay, so resistance training is really any form of exercise where there is an external resistance or pressure on the muscles while you're doing it. Okay, so something like walking, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's relatively easy on the body. There's not too much resistance involved in walking unless you're maybe going uphill, up a very steep hill, right? Whereas resistance training is something where your bodies are they're pressurized a little bit. There's an external force that is forcing your muscles to have to work against it. Okay, and that process of your muscles having to work against that resistance is one, how you build muscle, but two, it is great for the body. It is great for the mind. It is great for so many things, and that is what we call resistance training. There are a lot of different forms of resistance training. You can use free weights, right? So that's just your dumbbells, whether you're doing, you know, your curls. There are so many different exercises you can do. Kettlebells. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with kettlebells, and there's a lot of different programs out there these days. But that's one way to add that external pressure is kettlebells or free weights. If you go to the gym, going to the weight machines is another way to add that resistance, right? So like one of my favorite weight machines at the gym is the hip abduction, I think it's what it's called. It's where you sit and you have the little things that go on either on the outside of your thighs or the inside of your thighs, and you're either pushing it out and you're pushing it in. I love that one. I love that burn that you get, and it also, you know, shapes the booty nice. But that is resistance training, right? And so that's one of the ways that you can get that resistance. Anything on like a squat bar or those machines where you're pushing down, anything really at the gym where you are having to go to the little the weight rack and push the little pin and choose a weight, right? You're choosing your resistance level. So that is considered resistance training. Resistance bands are another great way to add resistance. And you can add them to, I mean, just about any exercise. But I love adding them to like squats, right? You get that resistance band around your legs, and you can, you know, work on pressing those knees out, either while you squat or while you're on the down part of the squat. Or I even love like doing like walking squats with the resistance bands. Great way to work the outside of the legs. You can do it with your arms. I've done push-ups where I put a resistance band around my wrists and then kind of done those wide push-ups where you jump out. There are a whole bunch of different ways that you can incorporate resistance bands, but that's a great way to make sure that you are really getting that external pressure. And there are different strengths of resistance bands, so you can get low, medium, high, and, you know, work your way up. And even body weight activities can be considered resistance training. I will say that it is, if you are on a weight loss journey, I would recommend maybe increasing it a little bit more than body weight, but body weight is a great place to start. Right? So if you are, because the truth is gravity. The truth is gravity. So even if you are doing a body weight squat, you bend down, it's not like you get to just pop right up. You are fighting the force of gravity on your way back up. And that itself is resistance. Okay. So doing squats is a form of resistance. Now, I think the best way to really see improvement is to maybe start out as body weight and then add the resistance. But I think the best way to really get the most bang for your buck is to get to the point where you are adding in some sort of weights to your regimen. Now, I want to put a caveat here because, again, if you are in if you are chronically stressed, or if you've run your stress and hormone panel and you are in that exhaustive phase, maybe put a hold on adding in weights for your regimen and stick with body weight. Because again, anything, although that pressure, that resistance is good, you want to keep in mind that that pressure is going to force your body to increase your cortisol levels as well as your blood sugar to make sure that you can, you know, you can move the object, you can lift the object, you can do whatever. Ooh, that's another one that I forgot to mention. Lifting and even carrying things is another form of resistance training, right? Let's say you have something heavy and you just walk across the room. That is a great form of resisted walking, right? Where your body is still fighting against gravity, as well as this extra weight that you put on while you're carrying these weights or this medicine ball or whatever it is across the room. But yes, caveat is just be careful with resistance training if you are in that chronically stressed state. Definitely start with body weight, and if you feel good, if you don't feel super drained after your exercise, then maybe move to some resistance bands and slowly work your way to weights, as hopefully your cortisol levels, your cortisol reserves are improving and increasing. Okay, so that is resistance training. I apologize that my slide is not matching what I'm saying, but this is, you know, everything that I'm saying is exactly what would have been on the slide. But some of the benefits of resistance training are, one, you get stronger. Who does not want to be stronger, right? And I'm not talking about like getting bulky muscles. I'm talking about when you grab groceries from the car to bring them inside, you don't have to struggle as much. I'm talking about, you know, maybe you have a little one and you want to pick them up and they're too heavy for you right now. You get stronger, right? You'll be able to play with them, pick them up, do whatever, throw them around, right? Without having to worry about, you know, your muscles giving out on you. Another great benefit of resistance training is, again, that balanced blood sugar. So muscles actually soak up glucose, right? So one of the ways that your glucose can get stored is in your muscles. So if you have more muscle on you, then your muscles are able to soak up some of that glucose so that it does not get stored as fat, okay? Now, if you don't have a lot of muscle, then your body's basically just going to bypass the muscle and go straight to storing it as fat. So that's why increasing the amount of muscle on your body is going to decrease the amount of fat that is stored on your body, okay? And then fat loss. Fat loss is also a great benefit of resistance training. So as I mentioned, if your muscles are soaking up some of that glucose, then there is more opportunity for, when you are utilizing energy, for your body to go and utilize the stored fat that is stored in your cells as for later, right? It can tap into some of those leftovers that they put in the fridge and utilize that for your resistance training. And so it can definitely help with fat loss. Okay. Now, number one, for the top 4 exercises for weight loss. You'll never guess. It's the exercise that you enjoy. I know you're probably like, what? Come on. But the truth is that the best exercise is one you will actually do, period. Okay? It is, like I said, most people understand the importance of exercise. Most folks know where they can find an exercise they can do, right? There's YouTube, there's Google, there's so many different places where you can find exercise routines, exercise regimens. You can hire a personal trainer, right? There are so many different ways that you can get what you're supposed to do. In my opinion, it becomes a lot easier to get out there and move your body and to exercise consistently if you choose something that you enjoy. So some examples can be dancing, Zumba, surfing, swimming, hiking, biking, skating. Literally anything that gets your body moving is going to be a great form of exercise. Okay, sometimes we overthink it, sometimes we overcomplicate it when it comes to exercise. But the truth is that if you just get out there and move your body, you are going to be in a better shape and you're going to lose weight if you do it consistently. Okay. So some of the benefits of doing exercise that you enjoy is improved mood, because not only are you going to, secrete all those endorphins and things like that, that are going to improve your mood, but you're also going to do something you like. You're going to do something you love, right? I'm happy when I go to a dance class because I love dancing. So it's fun and I look forward to it. So when I finish, I'm like, man, that was good. Not only did I get an exercise in, but I did something that I enjoyed. And another benefit of still staying on the, something that you love is that I think thinking with, you're not thinking of it as movement or as exercise, because again, it's something that you love. I'm not necessarily worried about how many calories I'm burning when I'm in a dance class, because I'm worried about getting the movements down, because I'm having fun in my body and just listening to the music and, lollygagging around. And so I'm not thinking about the calories burned or how much sweat all of that stuff, right? Where my heart rate is, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm still burning them. It doesn't change the fact that my heart rate's still up there, right? And now it's up there for an hour, sometimes hour and a half, which is way longer than any type of other intentional exercise that I would do. And I'm getting the benefits of the movement, but also having fun, okay? Mobility. Mobility is if you're doing something that gets your body moving it and you're doing it consistently, that mobility is going to be something that you're going to appreciate as you get older, because you're going to be, reducing your chances of injuries. You're going to be able to have your wide range of motion for as long as possible. My goal is to be able to physically play with my great grandkids, right? And so in order to do that, I need to make sure that I'm mobile, that my muscles can actually move and withstand that movement. Fat loss, of course. Again, anytime you're moving your body and you're doing it consistently, you're going to see that fat loss if you are also paying attention to your diet and managing your stress, right? This is a formula. This is called the weight loss formula for a reason. The foundation was mindset. Then we had nutrition and movement and sleep and stress management. So all of those are important. And if you do it consistently with everything else, you're going to see that fat loss. And lastly, of course, blood sugar balance. Again, if you're moving your body, you're going to be able to use the glucose that your body has stored or available in your bloodstream. And so that is going to help you balance your blood sugar so that on a given day, you're improving your insulin sensitivity, meaning, your insulin's still on the job. It's happy to do its job, but also the cells can hear insulin when they're knocking on the door and then allow it to come in. Okay, those are the top 4 exercises that, in my opinion, for weight loss. Now you may be wondering, Sinclair, where is cardio? Why is cardio not on here? One, depending on the intensity, walking can be cardio, depending on the intensity. But really the reason I did not include, and cardio is also a great exercise. I do not want to say that it's not a great exercise, but the reason I did not include it on here is because in the world of weight loss, I think cardio is overdone. And that's like the main thing that most people are focusing on. Let me go out there and run. Let me go out there and bike. Let me go out there and get that blood pumping and keep it up for as long as possible. One of the things that you need to keep in mind is most likely if you are in this 90-day weight loss formula, you've had a hard time losing weight. And one of the reasons why you probably had a hard time losing weight is because you are in that stress state, right? Most of us are. We are chronically stressed. And one of the things that cardio does is because you're doing a high intensity workout for a long period of time, your body is going to release cortisol, and it's going to keep releasing cortisol because your body still needs that energy. So doing cardio once, maybe twice a week is great, right? And I do recommend it. However, I do not think that every single exercise, every single day, every single exercise that you do should be cardio, because that can be very taxing to the body. And it also, if you are in a chronically stressed state, or if you have, problems with that your cortisol levels are depleted, cardio is probably not going to be the best exercise for you, because again, it's only going to further deplete your cortisol levels. It's only going to further put your body in that stress state for a long period of time. So that is the reason why I did not include cardio on my top 4 best exercises for weight loss. Now, if I made a top 5, cardio would be number 5, okay? In all fairness. But I do recommend incorporating it at least once a week, just for a variety of different workouts. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about, I did say I was going to try to keep this under 45 minutes, but this is the last thing. All right. I'm going to make it quick, is how to be consistent. Because I mentioned that earlier that, exercise, I think everybody gets the importance of that, and everybody generally knows like the different forms of exercise, and it's important to get out there and move your body. Doing it is a whole nother ball game. Doing it and staying consistent with it is one of the hardest things to do. Because again, our bodies it's not required necessarily for us to live our daily lives anymore, because everything is very accessible to us. We can get everything done. We can order anything from Amazon. We can get on Instacart and get our groceries. We can order food from a restaurant and do all of this without leaving our house. So it's really not required. And our bodies are built for survival, right? We prioritize survival. So for our bodies, a lot of times what that means is conserving energy. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of fighting that biology to get out there and move your body, when sometimes it just wants to conserve the energy, right? So that is one of the hardest parts, I think, about being consistent. So I put a couple of pointers here to help you keep consistent with your movement practice, with your exercise routine. So number one is to actually make a goal, right? I think just keeping it willy-nilly, according to how you feel on a daily basis, that's a dangerous thing, because again, our bodies are built for survival, and it's going to want to preserve energy most of the time. And it's very easy to get into that sedentary behavior when your natural state is to want to sit down and not do anything. So you have to make it a part of your routine. You have to actually set a goal for yourself, right? So I'm going to walk for 30 minutes 3 times a week. And I even recommend getting very specific: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, after dinner, or in the morning, right? Make it very specific, a tangible goal. Make it smart, right? Make it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. The next one is to under-promise and over-deliver. So rather than saying, I'm going to work out for 2 hours for 7 days a week, probably not going to be sustainable. And really, if you're starting out, that's a little bit of an unrealistic goal. So in my opinion, if you are just starting out, if you are not already a person that is getting up and working out every single day, and it's not a part of your daily routine, then I recommend maybe you start with 2 or 3 days a week. And I know that sounds like, what is that going to do? That is going to do a lot more than being consistent for 2 weeks and then, falling off the wagon for 2 months. Staying consistent, even if it's just for 2 days a week, is going to get you more results than that up and down type of behavior. Okay. It's better to be lukewarm than it is to be hot and cold. Okay. And when it comes to exercise. So definitely start out with under promising and over deliver. What I mean by that is under promise, meaning, man, I really want to work out 5 times a week. Great. Then say that you're going to do 3, or say that you're going to do 4. And then if you end up doing 5, you've over delivered on your goal. You've over delivered on your promise to yourself. But at least you're going to be able to get those 2 and 3 days. So choose, like, at a bare minimum, even on your most stressful weeks or when your most busy weeks, what can you get done, and have that be your goal to start out. And then, get consistent with that. I'd say for at least 2 weeks, but a month is a good time to really solidify something, a habit, and then you increase it to maybe 3 days or 4 days. Okay. You're going to be way better off doing that than, again, going really hard for 1 week and then falling off the wagon the next. Build it into your routine. So if you just, again, say, I'm going to work out tomorrow, and you don't give yourself any type of time frame or any place to put it in your routine, then life can happen, right? You have a free 30 minutes and maybe it gets filled with something else. You're on Instagram, you're scrolling. Next thing you know, your next meeting is up. You got to make dinner. You got to put the kids to bed. The day is over and you haven't worked out. So you have to build it into your routine. I love the book called Atomic Habits. And one of the habits that I love, that I've taken out of there that I implement, is called habit stacking. So habit stacking is when you take a habit that you already have implemented and you stack a habit that you are trying to implement on top of that. So for example, if you know that you brush your teeth every day, maybe you put your running shoes on before you brush your teeth so that you know, okay, I've got my running shoes on. After I brush my teeth, I'm going to go out the door and I'm going to go on this run. If you know that you eat dinner every day and you want to work out, maybe you want to go on a short walk after that, right? That does actually help balance your blood sugar. Then you say, I'm going to work out, I'm going to, walk for 30 minutes after dinner every day. Or again, under promise, over deliver. So maybe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, okay? But build it into your routine. Maybe you have a certain meeting on your calendar, you have a walking desk or a treadmill, or you can take a lap around the office before or after this meeting. But choose some way to build this habit into your routine. Reward yourself. And I want to be careful when I say this, because sometimes when we think reward, we think like, oh, I'm gonna have cake and ice cream, and we have that reward be something that actually diminishes our results. I challenge you to choose a reward that's actually going to further your progress here. So maybe you go take a massage, right? That's something that helps de-stress. Maybe you go out to a nice restaurant where you can get a healthy but delicious meal, right? Maybe you do treat yourself to a healthy dessert. But have it be something that is not going to derail your process. Maybe you go take a dance class or something that you enjoy. Choose something that you enjoy that is going to keep you on track for your goal. Do not choose a goal that is going to derail you. Otherwise, you're going to basically it's pointless, okay? And then have an accountability partner or group. So if you're part of the 90-day weight loss formula, we have an accountability group. We have a weight loss accountability group. That's a great place for you to go every week and say, hey, this is how I did. I said I was going to walk Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 30 minutes, and I completed it. Or I missed on Friday, but I'm going to do Saturday, right? But having someone or a group of people or a person that you are accountable to hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do is really important. Because if we just leave it to ourselves, we are very easy, it's typically very easy to let yourself off the hook because you can, tell yourself whatever you want and then you believe it. But choose somebody who's not going to let you off the hook, who's going to hold you accountable, and make sure that you stick to what you say you're going to do. And lastly, my favorite one is, again, make it fun. It doesn't have to be every single thing, every single day, or every single exercise routine that you do has to be, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. But at least once a week, choose something that you enjoy, whether that's a dance class, whether that's, going swimming, whether that's going golfing with your buddies, playing basketball with your friends, whatever it is, make it fun, because you're so much more likely to keep it into your routine and actually do it if you enjoy it. If you hate running, then don't say that you're going to run 5 days a week for an hour. You're not going to do that sustainably because it's not something you enjoy. It's going to seem like a chore. And the minute you have an excuse to not do it, you're going to take it. So make sure that you have something that you enjoy incorporated into your routine. It could even be going shopping at the mall, right? Because you have to walk around the mall, right? That's still physical activity, trying on the clothes, whatever. It's still moving your body, right? So maybe you go walk the mall, as a reward once a month. It can be creative, but get that movement in. Okay. So those are some tips on how to be consistent with your exercise routine. And that is everything that I have to cover for you today. So I am going to leave it open in case there are any questions out there. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up here. Okay. So again, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, put them in the comments, and I will answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much again for joining this masterclass on the top exercises for weight loss. I do have my contact information there. You all should know where to find me by now, but just in case, you can find me on Instagram at The Health Nerd. You can find me on Facebook at Queen to Queen Weight Loss Program. You can send me an email. I did put a little red box around that to remind you that I do have a new email, queencoaching@gmail.com. That is the new email that you can find me at. You can contact me most directly. And then the website, of course, queen2queencoaching.com. All right. So I hope you learned something new in this masterclass. Let me know what you want to learn about. If it's not something that I've covered already, again, put any comments or questions that you have in the comments below, and I will see you on the next masterclass. My name is Sinclair Walker. I hope you stay healthy, and I will see you next time.